Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, my good friend, very funny dude, Connor McSpadden.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, dude?
It was funny because we were just having a normal conversation, and then the podcast started pretty abruptly, and all of a sudden slogans were coming at me, and I was like, I wasn't ready. It was a transition.
I make that snap to being on brand immediately.
Yeah,
That's something I learned from the Mount Rushmore podcast people. I don't know what that is. Mark Maron, I guess?
You just turned it right the fuck on. All of a sudden it was like, hey, this is Jay Light, where we love to hate the movies. Today, Legal Zoom. The easiest way to start. It was like, well, whoa, okay, we're doing it.
Man, I appreciate that you think I'm popular enough to have the sweet Legal Zoom ad money.
You have like Legal Zam?
Yeah.
Dude, if you need a will for your cat, you go to Legal Zam, and man, just kazam, it's great.
If you're trying to get LLC for your muffin top baking business, just the muffin tops. We don't sell the whole muffins here.
Yeah, you got it. For that, you'd actually have to contact an ordained attorney. I don't know what the word is for
license. I
think license would be better than ordained.
Well, that's the Legal Zam gets you the ordained attorneys. If you want the licensed attorneys, you got to go to Legal Zam,
where you get married to the money.
Legal Zam and ZapRecruiter. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, ZapRecruiter.
And Stamps.net.
Stamps.net. That's pretty good. Where they just sell. It's just rubber stamps. Like if you need to grade papers, that's what they do.
Right. Yeah. You get a nice smiley face in there. You got a star.
Yeah. You guys see me.
Needs improvement.
Yeah. Imagine if you teach a really bad class, it would be like at this point, I'm just going to invest in a see me after class stamp because I'm getting carpal tunnel trying to fucking influence these children's inner city lives. Good movie talk.
Good movie talk. Good place to start. We're talking about a movie today that I had kind of actively avoided, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It really kind of went under the radar, I feel like, when it came out, because I wouldn't have been aware of it, but I kind of got dragged to go see it by a buddy.
And this movie is Splice.
Yeah.
Which is a movie that I'm guessing a lot of people probably haven't seen for good reason, unless you're a big fan of Vincenzo Natali, the visionary director of Cube.
Oh, is it the same guy that
It's the same guy.
Oh, fuck, no way. I didn't even realize that because I love Cube.
I didn't realize that until I watched it. Yeah, he directed
those are
Cube.
Actually the only horror movies I think I've really seen. I saw like 15 minutes of The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. My dad made me watch when I was a kid, and I was like, fuck you, Dad. I'm going to do bright colored safe things in the other room. I'm 12. And then I saw Cube 2, and that freaked me out because I was high, and I was like, probably 20.
Cube 2 Hypercube?
Cube 2 Hypercube, yeah.
See, the problem is different directors. They deviated from the plan.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know he got his franchise taken out from under him.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I'd seen Cube 2 and Cube 0, but I hadn't seen Cube 1 because it wasn't on Netflix, but I finally watched it, and Cube 1 was actually pretty good. I was like, oh, this isn't what I wanted at all.
He's not even listed as a producer on Cube 2.
Really?
He got just ripped right out from underneath.
He got
him.
fucking Roseanne'd by the Cube franchise.
Yeah, the Cube Hypercube is the Connors of the Cube franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
So Splice is this movie. It's from 2009, Canadian-French science fiction horror film. Stars Adrien Brody, Sarah Polley, and some French name, Delphine Chaniac. It concerns experiments in genetic engineering being done by a young scientific couple who attempt to introduce human DNA into their work of splicing animal genes. So this movie, Connor, you told me about this movie, and it was between, and I'll say this just for the sake of listeners knowing the full story. You told me that there were two movies you would want to talk about. It was either Scott Pilgrim or this movie.
Okay,
and your reason for hating this movie is so simple, and I love it. And just lay it on us.
Well, it's the thing is, I'll give you the whole backstory of my experience with this movie.
Please do.
This came out in 2009.
Yep.
All right, so a 16-year-old Connor McSpadden gets $20 from his mom and dad once every 3 months to go to the Ontario Mills Mall and see a movie movie with his friends, you know. And we go there, and it was like our buddy Ryan really lobbied for us to go see Splice, and it was like either Splice or it was like Pacific Rim, like so like a guaranteed popcorn good time. We're 16 movie, you know. It was like this or like some Transformers or some fucking dumb movie. And our buddy Ryan was like, "No, I'm serious, guys. I heard it's really good. Let's go see Splice." And we were like grousing about it, but he talks us into it. He wins the argument. And the first like 70 minutes of the movie, you're like, "Ah, shit, this is a pretty good, interesting movie." And then it goes, I don't know how much we want to spoil it right away.
We'll spoil the whole thing. Who cares?
And then he fucks the monster. And then it just becomes like a weird Woody Allen, but with a monster movie.
Yeah.
Where these like this couple makes a genetic experiment, and then the dude like sort of like gets Me Too'd by it, kind of.
But not really.
But he's kind of into it.
Oh, he's definitely.
Because he has
like
the same DNA as the lady scientist.
Right, but it's kind of like it's got some weird incestuous undertones to it.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole lot of just and
he also raised the monster since it was a baby. Like it ages really quickly, so he's like been its dad for a couple months.
It's their child.
Like he like fucks his 3-month-old baby monster child. And I'm like, you guys almost had it to the rim, and then the ball popped. Like you fucked it up so bad in quarter 4.
The ball didn't even. They stabbed the ball with box cutters and made it explode.
Like it bounced into a gypsy's front yard, and they're like, "No, you keep us up." Like it was just fucking all off the rails. And I was like, we were all ready to be like, "Okay, Ryan, we're glad we saw Splice. This was an interesting commentary on man's relationship with developing technologies." And then he fucked the monster, and that was our that was you don't have $20 when you're 16. You're just going by the fucking the kindness of strangers, that your parents at that point. So it's like, dude, this was the one movie a quarter we got to go see, and it was just monster porn. I could have watched Pacific Rim. So
you should have watched Pacific Rim. Pacific
I watched
Rim
it later,
so
and it was fucking great. It was exactly what I wanted. It was a bad movie about robots.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Instead of a movie that's trying to say something and comes so close to being philosophically relevant, and then all of a sudden just a hard turn.
Not like an A+, but like a B plus maybe. Like it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then fucking monster pussy.
Dude, the people in this movie, I always have a problem when people are making actively bad decisions in movies that don't really do a whole lot to actually further the plot or develop their characters at all.
They're just kind of like, what if we, and it's like almost like a room bit that just gets taken way too far. You know what I mean? Where it's like there's like ideas that are funny to talk about in the abstract, but actually doing them, you recognize that it's like, oh, that would ruin what we've done here. But they just went, no, what if we made him fuck, though? Like,
because the thing, he didn't even seem that interested in fucking her at first.
No.
Because I remember there's that scene where Adrien Brody is fucking Elsa, that's her name, Clive and Elsa. Frozen fame.
Yes.
And they're fucking, and you see the monster just kind of watch them in the shadows, and he's definitely like, this is weird. I don't want her to watch this clothed fucking that we're doing.
That's Chekhov's monster pussy, where if in the second act you fuck in front of the monster, in the third act the monster fucks you. It's in Save the Cat.
Save the alien.
Save the alien.
Save the monster pussy.
Save the gray.
So he goes to her, and she is doing her like naked monster romp around in the barn thing, and she pops her wings out, and
and that part of the scene sort of plays like some kind of Tim Allen sitcom where his daughter gets her period and he doesn't know what to do. A little bit. He's kind of like, whoa, like it's like a dude being overwhelmed by a developing woman, which like are a relatable enough thing that they handle okay. But then
and then all of a sudden he goes from being nurturing, kind of caring father figure to creepy basement dwelling father figure.
Oh yeah. And it's just, and I'm like, the monster is scary. So like if the monster wants to fuck you, it's one of those things you should probably just let it. But he comes in the monster. Like I feel like if I'm getting sexually assaulted by a monster, I am not finishing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can barely do that with a woman I love. Much less a barn fucking alien. And he fucks the monster to completion and has a monster human baby on the way at the end of the movie, where in a very kind of Biodome sort of move, they set up for this is going to be a slam dunk for a sequel. Everyone's going to want to see this. And then nobody has talked about this movie before us in like 6 years.
Right. And I remember this movie. I remember it came out. It was at film festivals, and I remember hearing about it, and I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just didn't. I remember like seeing trailers, and I was like, this feels kind of like a weird late 90s Matrix era kind of movie where they were doing that sort of sci-fi thing where it was like, all right, we're going to do something and it's going to be cutting edge.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it felt like it didn't feel like it drew me in based on the initial play. And watching it, I was just rolling my eyes constantly during this movie.
It felt like they had like a really good third draft of 3/4 of the movie, and then they paid someone on Craigslist to finish it.
They literally call the science company nerd in this movie.
Oh yeah.
There's so many base level decisions that that are just so stupid in this movie.
Like that's one of those things like calling the shit in Avatar unobtainium.
Right.
And it's like, for fucking real, that was the placeholder name. You know, like all right, they work for it doesn't matter, Nerd Tech, and then they just got used to it, and they thought actually it sounds kind of good. What if we just made it that simple? And it's like no.
It's some sub-Cinemax late-night level bullshit.
Yeah, like I've seen more creatively named, like, fucking biological tech companies in porn, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
This movie could have been, it would have been a good porn movie. First of all,
like if it had popped, it would have like hit the parody circuit pretty hard. Like if Wood Rocket would have been around when they were doing this, you're goddamn right they would have put April O'Neil in a weird like burn victim like face makeup suit and had her fuck some guy in a barn.
For sure, dude. You got your relationship with Wood Rocket. When did it even come into existence?
I have no idea. I really just kind of showed up to a strip mall and made pussy jokes for an hour one time.
That's the way you do it.
They told me I tried on all the Majin Buu masks and shit for the Dragon Ball Z porn that they did when I went there, and I was like, they had all these like Dragon Ball Z heads, and I was like, oh, I'll take pictures, I'll send them to my roommate Opie who likes Dragon Ball Z, and then I'm like, can I put these on? And they're like, oh, geez, if you want. Like, so I'm sure there's cum on some of them or whatever.
I mean, Majin Buu Kaki, it's right there. Oh, it's gotta be.
I'm slipping. I didn't even think about that.
Just got residual Piccolo and Goku cum floating around in there.
I like the idea of you do like an editing trick where you have her swallow the load and you cut to the guy looking satisfied and you cut back and it's fat Majin Buu instead of buff Majin Buu, and it's like, wow, that was a lot of cum.
Tons. You gotta pump that stomach.
The original Senzu bean, which is Tommy Pistol's cum.
So let's go through the plot of this movie, because there's a lot of stuff. You're right. There's a lot of stuff in here that's not that terrible.
Yeah, because I'm like a Star Trek fan. I'm a sucker for like the story about man's relationship with technology evolving hypothetically. I'm like, there's so many interesting things to do there. What would you do if you had a food replicator or whatever? Like that's always like a fun that like hooks me as a media consumer, I guess you'd say. So I was like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, and I like that it didn't feel like it's one of these movies that's it's not like this is the near future. It's like, oh, this is kind of happening right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like one of the not too distant kind of Black Mirror sort of a space that they're working from.
Mm-hmm. And I think the acting is good. Adrien Brody and Sarah Polley, I think, both do a good job.
Yeah, with like the source material, it's like, yeah, if you're gonna get fucked by a monster, that's about the best you could play it.
Right. Adrien Brody's definitely pulling off his best scientist who only shops at Hot Topic vibes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Where it's just like, oh, this guy, he loves atoms and the Store Express.
What if we made the version of Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3 into an actual scientist?
Oh yeah,
how can we make this work?
Yeah,
and so they're doing they're showing up and they make these weird blob genetic mutations, chimera things.
Like they're gonna farm them for resources, like these, like, when they see like they're growing meat in labs, like that kind of thing. Like they just grow like a fucking blister, to like use for science shit, basically.
And the scene where they put them in the cage together, the glass box or whatever it is, and they're doing the imprinting thing with the tongues, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they have this like little alien like mating ritual that they have, like Avatar, like the ICU shit, and you're like, okay, okay, yeah, sure, that could happen. All right, interesting. They're kind of they're being like cute little disgusting aliens.
Yeah, okay, this is like, okay, I buy this story.
Yeah, because it's like the whole, like the movie's just like, oh, interesting. All right, I'm in. I'm all the way in on this. Why not? And then
Let's get into let's talk about what happens with there's so many times in this movie where things could have gone very differently for the actual human child monster.
yeah, for
Monster,
sure, yeah.
whatever we're calling it. Alien. It's kind of an alien creature. It's got like the weird split head for a long time.
Yeah.
Its eyes are very far apart. Obviously it's got wings, it's got a tail, it's eating cats.
Yeah, it sort of like develops these new. It gets like they realize it has a stinger. You know, like the Andalites from Animorphs. Man,
You got a lot of sci-fi references. I didn't realize you were such a sci-fi fan.
dog, I did not touch a boob for a while. I read every Animorphs. But yeah, it's got that, and then you find out it has wings later, and you're like, okay, yeah, fucking sure. But yeah, it grows wings, and it starts off as like a cute little girl, and it's like sort of like a parenting movie, but with the sci-fi twist. And you're
Right.
like, oh, interesting. All right, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to teach it what words are, and they're making it play with Scrabble tiles and spelling out things, and
Yeah, and it like, it does the like foreshadowing words with the Scrabble tiles where like later on it spells tedious and outside because it wants to go outside or whatever, and they're like, well, I don't see what could go wrong in letting this winged alien roam the night.
right, and they just have a barn at the ready that they can just stuff her into.
Yeah, I like
Just
that
let
the,
her hang
the
out.
scientists are conveniently also used to be a country girl with the barn or whatever.
Oh, it's super convenient. It's
Yeah.
very Deus Ex Machina. But then, so they take like, there's a part where Adrien Brody for so much of this movie is so uncomfortable with this monster child that they have created.
Yeah.
To the point where he tries to drown her in a industrial sink.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, he straight up. The Elsa is like, oh, she's sick. She's got a fever because they have to evacuate because their project has gone horribly awry, and they're freaking out because this is right before the two little blister monsters turn on each other because they
Yeah.
changed genders.
yeah. Oh god, there's so much good shit that I'm forgetting. Yeah.
That actually is probably my favorite
And
scene of the whole movie.
They have like a TED talk where they show off their blister monsters and like, we're gonna get so much weird monster protein, and then the monsters just like kill each other in front of a bunch of people in an auditorium.
and all that's left, it's just an ocean of blood.
just a cloud of like fucking goo and mist.
Yeah, Shining style shit going on there.
Absolutely.
I love
Like
that.
the whole, like the Adrien Brody trying to like raise a little girl. Like, I don't know. I had this bit I was trying to do, so I'll just say the part that I think is funny. But it's like, I think, women have daddy issues because men are just generally terrible fathers. Like, if I had a daughter and she got her first period, I would just kick her pussy under the refrigerator and hope one of my roommates cleaned it up. Like, that is, you do see he's just very inept, like with the like, oh, like it's like a Tim Allen sort of vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to do it.
No.
And that's the thing. He's so bumbling that it doesn't make sense for him to make that shift. I lost all, the movie loses all credibility in an instant. It goes from being kind of like a decent, like, all right, this isn't a great movie, but this is totally fine.
It's a fun movie. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say I didn't enjoy watching it, and then all of a sudden, once it starts leading up to like, okay, this is definitely gone from being a B movie that knows it's being a B movie into being just in total, just like, why did this choice happen?
Yeah. No, because they could have, if they'd really like tightened it up, landed at about like something that was like 70% as good as like Children of Men, if they'd really like done the work or whatever. But then it just turns into like some sort of like thing that Zach Amico, did you see Splice from the 70s where the guy fucks the monster? Yeah, anyway, I got a fleshlight of that monster. Like, it was just very much went like, they got lazy.
Well, it's either they do that and they do the kind of they do stuff to make more philosophical shit happen, like probably not fucking the monster.
Yeah.
The stuff at the end where they are like, the monster changes genders and starts killing people. That's that's good. It's a good climactic moment. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna
Where
do
the monster hits that guy with their car on PCH and then gets out of the public eye for a couple months.
just hide out. We're gonna listen. Like, you gotta lay low, monster. You're doing all the wrong things.
Look, I'm sorry. I have a lot of transgender friends. I was talking to one of my transgender friends the other day, and after I was done washing my hands, I realized she made a really good point. That was a joke I did with Robin the other day.
Oh man. So there's this part, and I think if you're gonna you either do that, and you make it more serious, and you can keep the horror elements, and you don't have to throw in a batshit insane decision.
Yeah. Like the
Or-
monster could have just tried to kill him. I'm like, yeah, it drowned it. You fucked in front of it. That monster's got parental issues.
The monster rapes Sarah Polley's character at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
With like a barbed cat penis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I think, made more sense than Adrien Brody fucking the monster.
Yeah. And there's like a part where you realize the monster has a crush on Adrien Brody.
Yeah.
Where it's like drawing pictures of him. And then the girl's like, anyone's with me? And she's like, no. And like runs away and is like, it was writing like Mrs. Adrien Brody, the monster, over and over again in her notebook.
Right.
Like, that's kind of funny. Like, that's interesting. I could see that, you know?
I think, yeah, but it's either you do that or you have Adrien Brody fuck the monster way earlier in the movie. Those are the
Yeah.
only options for this movie.
Yeah, you don't like build up all this like tension and sort of interesting questions and then go, fuck, what do we only got like 15 minutes left and I really like what we have, so fuck it, just have him. It rapes him. Like, that's what we got to do.
It's so close. It's so close to being right.
That's the thing. Yeah, yeah. It's like, you ever see those like GIFs where it looks like everything's going to line up and then it fucks up at the last second, like as a joke or whatever. And it's like, you're like, oh God, like they're like, cringe GIFs or whatever. It's like a 90-minute one of those.
The thing with this movie, and this is something else that I had a problem with. So everybody's saying this is a horror movie.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a horror movie.
It's like a horror movie for like 15 minutes, I think, at the end, kind of.
Right.
But the rest of it is just more of like a Star Trek episode, I guess.
Yeah, or a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, for sure,
Or Black
yeah.
Mirror. We even said that right up front.
Yeah, any of that shit. It's all that kind of genre, you know?
It doesn't... I don't think you should be calling your movie a horror movie just because there's a weird monster in it and it kills people at the end. It doesn't make it a horror movie.
This is making me wonder if someone wrote like a sort of version of it that was just kind of like a sci-fi, like moral fucking quandary movie, and then they went, I mean, I like it, but I mean, it's who wants to go think at the movies, And they're like, can we make it a little more exciting? And the guy's like, I don't know, fuck this. And they said, hey, you got a nephew, right? Doesn't he have a copy of Final Draft? He got off fucking LimeWire in 2006. Have him punch it up. And then that guy was like, and then the barbed cat alien penis tears her asunder. And she uses that. She tries to get that fucking baby daddy money from the company, and it's a cliffhanger. And then they went, good enough, And then the fucking here it is.
This is a quote from Vincenzo Natali. I don't think so. It could happen. That's how I assume he talks. He's an Italian man.
Gotta be, yeah.
This is how when asked if there would be any sequels. It would have required the movie to make a lot of money in the States, but even though the ending of the movie appears to be setting up a sequel, that was never my intention. So he didn't even want this movie to continue.
Oh, then he just made a shitty ending.
Yeah.
For no reason.
You phoned it in, buddy.
Yeah, like Moon or something, where it's like not like they set it up for a sequel, but it's just not as good enough movie to warrant one. Really, like it's an interesting movie, but it was kind of like Moon, where I was like, I'm like, I guess I'm glad I watched it because it was sort of interesting, but it's like in no way was that like, wow, that's a great. I got to show that to somebody.
Yeah. I barely even remember Moon. I saw Moon in theaters when it was out, and I remember being like, oh, yeah, because everyone was like, Sam Rockwell's great in this.
Yeah, well, Kevin Spacey's a robot that clones a guy that lives on the moon who's getting like lunar resources for fuel or some shit. Is basically like the whole plot of it.
And it doesn't. That's the thing. It didn't leave a mark on me. It didn't leave an imprint.
It is funny that in the movie I'm now reading, Kevin Spacey has a laboratory where he clones a pretty man.
It's just, Kevin Spacey's dream role right there. I think
he was really doing a lot of I'm not touching you shit, with that one where he's like, how close? It was like a Manhattan with Woody Allen, where he's just like, how close can I get to just saying I did it?
What would happen if this movie was directed by Woody Allen? I feel like the fucking would happen way earlier in the movie. Also, it's the perfect movie for Woody Allen to make a movie about a dad fucking his weird sort of daughter.
She's got a stinger. What was I supposed to do? Are you going to turn down what? I've never even been with a black woman. I thought that perhaps it'd be a bucket list item, and then everything got out of hand.
I've never made a woman come, much less made wings pop out of a body while I was given a pleasure.
Oh, that's how you know you really got, that's like when dudes are like, oh, fellas, you made your girl come when she go to sleep after. It's like, fellas, she coming when her wings pop out and she fucks your wife with a thorny dick.
I know some guys out here trying to find squirters. I'm out here trying to find flyers.
I'm trying to find flappers. That's the new Pornhub category in the Spice universe where it's like flappers.
Flappers.
And then there's a few videos of Barbara Holiday doing stand-up mixed in with...
Yeah, just somehow... listen, you got past the algorithm there, guys.
Yeah.
So-
That's honestly a good promotional move on her part. She got a few people were like, well, maybe at some point she flaps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to listen. And that's the stuff you learn by taking the marketing and promoting yourself classes
exactly.
at Flappers Comedy Club.
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
Oh, man. I'm so glad that they probably don't listen to podcasts at all. This movie...
I was just joking. It's just, well, it's Flappers. Who else am I going to pick?
Of course. I mean, Flappers Claremont is now defunct. That's where they can shoot all the porn movies for the Flappers category.
Oh, is it really? Did it go out of business?
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, man. First place I ever did stand-up.
Yeah, that was the first place that ever paid me to do comedy.
I actually fucked a monster in the parking lot one time. I had a good show.
Don't talk about people from the Inland Empire like that. Come on, this is very nice.
I'm being generous.
So this is just one of those things. It's like, if you're gonna make I just wish they'd picked a lane.
Yeah, it's like when someone like a chef makes like Joe DeRosa has a bit about like fancy food. They ruin it. They're like, okay, we've got these prawns, all right, and we've seared them on the outside. They're golden brown on the outside, juicy on the inside. We've seared in those juices. We've put some garlic and lemon in there. And then we've dipped them in our chocolate turmeric sauce. And it's like, no, you just do the you had it, and then
so
you
close.
ruined it with this like fancy bullshit at the end.
It's like one of those fancy lava cakes that look like the chocolate lava cakes, but it's filled with hot toothpaste.
That's exactly what it is. Or my mother makes like cookies, and she's vegan, and she's like makes really good cookies. But it'll be like a delicious looking chocolate on chocolate chip cookie, and then you take a bite, and there's like a shitload of ginger in there, and you're like, why did you make this taste like a tree when you had a perfectly fine cookie?
Dude, one time when I was in high school, I was at a friend of mine's house, and his mom had made cookies, and everybody else hated the cookies, and I was like, these are great. And it turns out that she meant to put cinnamon in there, and she'd put chili powder in instead.
Oh, fuck.
And
okay.
I didn't even realize. I thought it was like, this is great. It's got a little kick to it, and everybody else hated it. They thought I was weird.
That's actually sounds kind of good. Well, that sounds like something that you get like off the secret menu at like the Mexican ice cream truck. Where it's like,
yeah.
You want some spicy cookies, and you're like, I don't know. Sure, let's see what you guys are cooking up down there.
Why not? What do you think is a movie that does sci-fi or horror or both a little bit better than this? Like I now that I know that you're a big old sci-fi fan.
Oh,
you got a wealth of knowledge, I'm sure.
No, I don't know about a wealth, but I think like Children of Men does a different does a good job with a similar kind of premise where it's like, what if we could splice animal and human DNA, you know, or like what if just we stopped having babies? What would that look like?
Right.
And that ends up being sort of more of an interesting exploration of that hypothetical with like good characters and like relatable drama as opposed to this, where it's like you've got a nice premise and like in parts of it are executed well, but they actually like land the ship on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I'm trying to think of another example. Or even just like fucking, I mean, the thing is like, I would just point to like a good Star Trek episode. Like there's like an episode where there's the character Data's a robot, and they basically have to debate his like human status to like see if he should stay in Starfleet or receive certain benefits. And they have like a court proceeding where one of the guys lobbies and just says he's a robot, but he's one of the best men I ever knew. He gives a nice speech, and you're like, oh, maybe robots someday will be seen as humans too. And you think about it, and you're like, that's kind of interesting, And this came out in 1980, fuck. And then you see like Splice. They had another 18 years to like, oh, wow, what a great format. Let's see if we can even make that better. And they went, all right, here's the deal. We took that and we added pussy, and then that's the movie.
Yeah, that's all there is. If there's so many different avenues they could have gone down the rights aspect. Imagine what it would have been like.
There's the perfect Star Trek episode. It's it's Devil in the Dark, and it's an original series one, and it's fucking hokey. But they meet a rock monster. All right, and it's killing people, but it realizes because it's in danger, they've come into its habitat, it doesn't realize who they are. But it's actually super smart because it pisses acid, and it pisses acid to spell out like no kill I, because of what it's learned from the human language and its brief interactions with him. And you go, oh shit, this is a monster made of rocks, but it's got feelings, like that's maybe we'll meet aliens like that someday. It's kind of interesting. And then they do that, and instead of any of that episode has horror, it's killing fucking red shirts. You're like, what are they gonna do? Is this how will Captain Kirk Kirk get his way out of this one, and there's like an interesting resolution, whereas this just didn't add that part.
Yeah. Do you think if there had more actual horror in this movie, it would have done anything to save it?
I mean, yeah, definitely. If you wanted to just like do this without any of that, like it's you sort of would have to pick a lane. Like I think you could have done both, and this wasn't the way to do it. But I mean, if you just gone straight up, like, well, yeah, man's gone, guy playing God. Who doesn't love that story? That's fucking Mary Shelley. That's like timeless.
And there's something, and there's also the aspect of like, I think some of my favorite horror movies of recent years have been stuff that involves family related stuff, like The Babadook involves that, Hereditary, Suspiria. They all involve this sort of like familial shit, and there's body horror stuff involved. And this movie could have gone down that road.
Oh, certainly, yeah, because like they have this weird little like unconventional family unit, and at times they do make kind of an interesting commentary on like fatherhood. Like I feel like if you have a baby and you're overwhelmed, I'm sure sometimes you feel like I might as well have a tiny alien in my house. I don't know how to get her to stop crying. I don't know why she's got that like rash. Like I'm freaking out.
I can only imagine how many young fathers were watching this movie and seeing the scene where Adrien Brody tries to drown the child. And it was like, I get that.
Must be nice.
Oh, boy. Oh, God.
You know what else? What other movie did that? And everyone hated it, but the American Funny Games with something Roth.
Oh, yeah.
I remember thinking that was a bitchin' movie, and I looked it up afterwards, and it had like 1 star everywhere, but that was a terrifying movie. A bunch of sociopaths who try to kill basically like Mitt Romney's cousins.
Right, yeah. Michael Haneke remade the movie of his original movie. There was I think it was a Swedish movie. But yeah, Naomi Watts, Tim Roth, Michael Pitt, Brady Corbett.
Yeah.
And it's just guys who show up and commit crazy acts of violence and murder this family.
There's no reason for
no reason.
Yeah, and you're like, well, there is like evil out there like that in the world. That's great. That's, that's interesting. I don't know. That's compelling to watch. You know what? It's actually kind of fucking reminding me of, shit, I might have just lost it. Never mind. Yeah, it'll come back.
You want to try again?
Fuck. Movies. What are the 6 movies you've seen, Connor?
Pacific Rim, Splice, Funny Games.
Funny Games. I have no idea. It's gone.
It's all good. We tried. We tried to dig it up. Well, I now I feel like I need to see Cube.
Oh, the original Cube. The original Cube is actually like a pretty good formulaic horror movie where it just kind of yeah, it works out kind of how you'd expect, but there's good twists and turns, and they're locked in a cube, and each one has a door, and they're full of traps, and they're trying to get out, and there's like different guys that have different. There's a math guy who figures out the way the cubes are laid out, and there's like a guy who's a burglar who knows how to get around traps, and then they have to use prime numbers to find out like a certain equation to like lead them out of the cube, and there's an autistic guy that they have to take care of, and they end up like kind of keeping him alive even though he's like a danger to himself because he's freaking out and it's a stressful environment and his tics or whatever lead him to like put himself in harm's way. But they keep him alive because of the goodness of the human spirit, and they find out that his like autistic superpower is that he does prime numbers. So they're using him to get out, and then they all kind of turn on each other, and in the end there's a climax and only one of them escapes. And it's like, yeah, that's how that movie goes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's like perfectly. It's a fucking popcorn movie.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's
you
like
want to see a guy get sawed in half by a cube trap, like a BattleBots arena.
Ah, dude, as a former BattleBots writer, I love a good saw trap.
Oh, dude, yeah, who doesn't?
So I can't recommend watching Splice. I can't do it. I
can recommend getting high and watching Splice with 2 friends.
Yeah, you'll probably enjoy it way more that way.
If it's watch it to have a fun time watching a bad movie, I think.
Yeah, it's a movie that I could see having a life is a B movie, because it's definitely a B movie, and I think it knows it is. And it's not made in the way that's like super heightened, because I think they were trying to make an A-level movie. And it just wound up being a shitty movie.
Yeah, well, it was like if they knew that it was going to come across kind of schlocky and they had just leaned into it, it would have been a blast.
Yeah.
Like if the whole tone of it hadn't had moments that were like compelling in the beginning, and then they fucked a monster, I'd be like, yeah, great, of course you fucked some monster. They fucked the 2 guys. They did like there's some sort of cheesy thing where the blood splatter makes a skull on the glass, or what the fuck ever it is.
Do weird science with Freddy Krueger in it. Do some weird slasher movie shit.
Exactly, yeah. But they just tried to have their cake and eat it too.
Fucking Vincenzo, man.
It'd be like if you got like, I don't know, like somebody like some it's like if you got, I don't know, Paul McCartney to make like a rap rock song, or something, and you're just like, you should like, and you like, oh man, that verse about his Linda's passing and his new relationships in the beginning was really beautiful, but then when he says, I'm coming to take your town. You know, I wear the crown. Bring your daughters and your sisters down, which is just a snot song, but like it's like that.
The Paul McCartney Papa Roach crossover we've been searching for our entire lives.
It's like if the verse was Michelle and then the chorus was Bad with a Ba. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, thanks for exposing me to this movie, Connor.
No problem. Yeah, it was. I don't think I've gotten a chance to talk about it in detail in like fucking 8 years or something. 9 years.
Yeah, I mean, that movie came out like 9 years ago. So now we've unlocked it. We've unearthed it from the collective psyche of the universe.
I'm getting the 10-year DVD best like special edition set.
Yeah, it's gonna come in one of those fake wombs like they had in the movie.
Yeah, and one more thing before we go, I did notice executive producer Guillermo del Toro. And
See,
this guy just loves fucking monsters.
He does love monsters, and I like the monster effects in this movie. It looked probably really good for the time. Now it's like, oh, okay, it's all way better.
Yeah. But I remember seeing it and going like, wow, good special effects.
Yeah. Where can the listeners find you? Of course, your podcast, Mean Boys, which is fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, you've been a guest on that. We got to have you come back soon. It's
I would love to.
Scripted late night show, basically, where it's like what if Conan O'Brien had roommates and he called them fat? I don't know. I don't know the pitch. Yeah, we just did that, and then shows and shit. ConnorMcSpadden.com. I'm going to SAC and Canada. When does this drop?
This is going to be out on the 21st, right before Christmas.
Ooh, right before Christmas. Yeah, I'm going to. If you're in Windsor or Chatham, I'm there the 28th and the 29th. So if you want to come, I'll hang out. Show me what to do in Canada. Show me your small town hobbies.
And you can follow me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. I got show dates on jlightcomedy.com. If you're listening to this today when it comes out, I'm doing a show in Dallas on tonight when you're listening to this right now.
You got to make a Jay Does Dallas poster.
It's just the one show, unfortunately, for now. I gotta hit up some of these other clubs and see what I can do. But I'll post the shows on my website. But this one,
put your face on Debbie's face.
That's a good idea.
That's a 50. That's a 50 liker, dude.
Oh yeah. I gotta bump up my Photoshop skills. I just redid the licensing, so I can finally actually do it again. Thank God.
I did that actually. It's really easy if you go do it through the piratebay3.org.
Hey.
The licensing is very easy.
So easy to figure out. But yeah, it's Noble Ray Brewing at 7 p.m. tonight. So go check that out. You can still get tickets at the door, or you can probably buy them online, I'm sure.
I'm actually at Devious Rays in Houston the next day.
And if you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, subscribe, leave a rating. It helps me, it helps you, it helps the guests. It's all good shit, guys. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.